phones, Babylons can't crack the code.
Devontae Smith, wide receiver for the University of Alabama, just took home the Heisman, and he definitely deserves it. He's the first ever receiver to take home the Heisman Trophy since Desmond Howard, and that was all the way back in the early 90s. But in today's video, I want to talk about what happened to the past 10 Heisman winners from 2010 to 2019 and see what happened to them in their football careers. In 2010, the Heisman winner was Cam Newton, quarterback out of Auburn, and he was unstoppable that season that he was at Auburn. He even won a national championship the same season. His stats included completing 66% of his passes, throwing for 2,854 yards, 30 touchdowns, and only 7 interceptions. And on the ground, no one could stop him. He rushed for 1,473 yards, averaging almost 6 yards per carry, and 20 touchdowns. Cam Newton was taken with the first overall pick in the 2011 NFL Draft by the Carolina Panthers, who were in much need of a quarterback, and Cam Newton was that fix for them. Cam Newton had a really good career at Carolina, even though near the end of his career he did start to fall off a little bit, mainly due to injury issues. But at Carolina, he was a 3-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro, 2011 AP Offensive Rookie of the Year, an MVP, and even made a Super Bowl that he unfortunately lost. In the 2020 NFL offseason, the Carolina Panthers would get rid of Cam Newton, and his next home would be in New England to be basically the replacement for Tom Brady in New England. But so far in New England, it really has not gone his way, and New England missed the playoffs for the first time in a very long time, and Cam Newton really struggled in the air, but still had quite a bit of success on the ground. For Cam Newton's career so far, he's completed 60% of his passes, has thrown for 31,698 yards, thrown for 190 touchdowns, and 118 interceptions. And on the ground, Cam Newton has rushed for 5,398 yards, 70 touchdowns, averaging 5 yards per carry. In the 2011 college football season, the Heisman winner was RG3, quarterback for Baylor, and he had a really big season, where he completed 72% of his passes, threw for 4,293 yards, 37 touchdowns, and only 6 interceptions, and on the ground he rushed for 699 yards and 10 touchdowns. RG3 was drafted in the 2012 NFL Draft, where he was actually drafted 2nd overall by the Washington Redskins. And RG3 had a really good rookie season where he even made a Pro Bowl, even though he wasn't able to go to it. He was the AP Offensive Rookie of the Year and led the Redskins to the playoffs. But the thing is, the playoffs was RG3's downfall. He would end up tearing his ACL in that game in a very gruesome injury, and RG3 was not the same player since, and he struggled the rest of his time in Washington, and then after that he went to Cleveland, and he was very bad, took a year off from football, and has been a backup for the Baltimore Ravens since. In his football career so far in the NFL, he has had one really good season and the rest just not being able to bounce back since his ACL injury. In his career so far, he has completed 63% of his passes, thrown for 9,271 yards, 43 touchdowns, and 30 interceptions. On the ground in his career, he has rushed for 1,809 yards and 10 touchdowns, averaging almost 6 yards per carry. In the 2012 college football season, the Heisman winner was Johnny Manziel, and Johnny Manziel was one of the most electrifying college football players in most recent history. When you watch Johnny Manziel, he did something amazing every time he touched the field, and it was just really fun to watch him. Even though he did have a cocky attitude when he played, he always did back it up, but he did have off-the-field issues, however. But in his 2012 Heisman campaign season, he completed 68% of his passes, thrown for 3,706 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions, but on the ground, he was really deadly, rushing for 1,410 yards, averaging 7 yards per carry, and 21 touchdowns. In the 2014 NFL Draft, Johnny Manziel would be selected with the 22nd overall pick in the first round by the Cleveland Browns. But Johnny Manziel would really struggle in the NFL, off the field and on the field. Johnny Manziel in his NFL career really did not do anything special when he was actually playing. he only completed 57% of his passes, threw for 1,675 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. But the reason why he only lasted a couple seasons in the NFL is because of what he did off the field. Since being done with the NFL, Johnny Manziel has bounced from league to league, from Canadian Football League to the AAF, and now a fan-controlled league. In the 2013 college football season, the Heisman winner this season was Jameis Winston, quarterback out of Florida State, and just like Cam Newton, he would also win a national championship this season. Jameis Winston in his Heisman campaign, he completed 67% of his passes, throwing for 4,057 yards, 40 touchdowns, and only 10 interceptions, while rushing for 4 touchdowns on the ground. Jameis Winston would end up being the first overall pick in the 2015 NFL Draft by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And so far in his NFL career, he has completed 61% of his passes, has thrown for 19,812 yards, 121 touchdowns, and 88 interceptions, and is currently a backup with the New Orleans Saints. But the biggest flaw in Jameis Winston's career so far has been his turnover issue. He's been able to put up some pretty big numbers, even his last season as a starting quarterback at the Buccaneers, but throwing 30 touchdowns in a season and 30 interceptions in a season is unacceptable, no matter how you do with your completion percentage or how many yards you throw in a season. Jameis Winston so far has only been in one Pro Bowl. 2014 Heisman winner was quarterback from Oregon, Marcus Mariota, who had a huge season where he passed for 4,454 yards, completing 68% of his passes, 42 touchdowns, and only 4 interceptions. And on the ground, he rushed for 770 rushing yards, averaging almost 6 yards per carry, and 15 rushing touchdowns. Marcus Mariota was selected with the 2nd overall pick in the 2015 NFL Draft by the Tennessee Titans, and he had a lot of expectations going in to be the man for their franchise and to help them bring them to the playoffs. But unfortunately for the Titans and Marcus Mariota, he would end up suffering many injury issues in his career, and he could never really stay consistent. Marcus Mariota right now is currently the backup quarterback for the Oakland Raiders, and his career, he so far has completed 63% of his passes, so for 13,433 yards, 77 touchdowns, and 45 interceptions. The 2015 Heisman winner was Derrick Henry, who was a running back from Alabama, and he had a breakout season with the Crimson Tide. In the 2015 college football season, he rushed for 2,219 yards with 28 touchdowns, averaging 5.6 yards per carry. Unlike all the other Heisman winners I've discussed so far in this video, Derrick Henry is different because, well, he is a running back, but he was also selected in the 2nd round and not the 1st round. In the 2nd round, 45th overall selection in the 2016 NFL Draft, that was where Derrick Henry was drafted by the Tennessee Titans. And Derrick Henry did not get off to a fast start in his first couple seasons because he was not the main running back. He was sharing carries with other backs his first 2 seasons in Tennessee. But once he hit his 3rd season in 2018, he really started to take off, and he just kept on going up from there. So far in his career, he's one of the better running backs currently in the NFL with the Titans, but so far, he currently has 5,860 rushing yards, averaging 5 yards per carry, 55 touchdowns, and he's made 2 Pro Bowls in his career. In the 2016 college football season, the Heisman winner for this season was Lamar Jackson, quarterback out of Louisville. And in this season, Lamar Jackson completed 56% of his passes while throwing for 3,543 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. But on the ground, he was unstoppable. He rushed for 1,571 yards, averaging 6 yards per carry, and 21 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson was drafted in the 2018 NFL Draft, and he was the final pick in the 1st round selected by the Baltimore Ravens, who already had a quarterback at the time, a Super Bowl winner, Joe Flacco. But Joe Flacco was starting to look kind of like he was regressing in his game, so they needed someone for the future, so they got Lamar Jackson, the former Heisman winner. And Lamar Jackson would start off as a backup in his rookie season, but he would end up replacing Joe Flacco and helping lead the Ravens to the playoffs in his rookie season, where he unfortunately lost in the 1st round of the playoffs. But so far in Lamar Jackson's career, he's been very good. He's made a Pro Bowl, he's been an MVP, and he's been an All-Pro. And so far in his career, he's made the playoffs for 3 straight years. He's completed 64% of his passes, going for 7,085 yards, 68 touchdowns, and only 18 interceptions. And on the ground so far in his career, he's rushed for 2,906 yards and 19 touchdowns, averaging 6 yards per carry as a quarterback. In the 2017 college football season, the Heisman winner this year was Baker Mayfield, quarterback out of Oklahoma. And Baker Mayfield had an amazing season this year, where he completed almost 71% of his passes, threw for 4,627 yards, 43 touchdowns, and only 6 interceptions. And on the ground, he also had 5 touchdowns as well. Baker Mayfield would end up being the first overall pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, drafted by the Cleveland Browns, who actually went 0-16 in the 2017 NFL season. Baker Mayfield had a lot on his plate, and he had a really good rookie season, but then in his second season, he kind of fell off a little bit. But right now, he's actually led the Browns to their first ever playoff appearance since 2002. So far in Baker Mayfield's career, he has completed 62% of his passes and has thrown for 11,115 yards, while having 75 touchdowns in the air and only 43 interceptions. In the 2018 college football season, OU would have back-to-back Heisman winners in the quarterback position, as well as the 2018 Heisman winner was Kyler Murray, and he had an insane season where he completed 69% of his passes, threw for 4,361 yards, 42 touchdowns, and only 7 interceptions, and on the ground, he rushed for 1,001 yards and 12 touchdowns. Just like Baker Mayfield, who won the Heisman the year before him, Kyler Murray would be the #1 overall pick in the 2019 NFL Draft by the Arizona Cardinals, and so far in Kyler Murray's career, he's made 1 Pro Bowl and was an Offensive Rookie of the Year, and his numbers are 66% completed passes, while throwing for 7,693 yards, 46 touchdowns, and only 24 interceptions. And on the ground, we obviously know he's really good, and so far in his career, he has rushed for 1,363 yards and 15 touchdowns, all in only 2 seasons. In the 2019 college football season, we might have witnessed one of the best college football players ever, and arguably maybe the best college football player ever, in Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow would end up winning the 2019 Heisman Trophy, and it really wasn't close at all. In this season, he would end up completing 76% of his passes, while throwing for 5,671 yards, 60 touchdowns, and only 6 interceptions, and he won the national championship as well. Just like Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray that came right before him in the previous 2 years, Joe Burrow would complete the streak for Heisman winners being the #1 overall pick in their draft. Joe Burrow was the #1 overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft by the Cincinnati Bengals. Unfortunately, Joe Burrow would end up tearing his ACL and only playing 10 games in the 2020 NFL season. In the 2020 NFL season, he would actually play pretty well, ending up completing 65% of his passes while throwing for 2,688 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Well guys, if you guys liked the video, remember to smash that like button, turn on them post notifications, and subscribe for more videos. B. Kelly, out!